welcome back in to Top of the Perch, second season of Top of the Perch. If you, of course, don't count the previews, this is the official beginning of the second season. I am your host, as always, Nick Burt. Hope springs eternal match week one, and then you get just brought right back down to earth after 90 minutes, and that's very much what this was today. More things change, more things stay the same. All the cliches feel like they fit this match for Tottenham Hotspur because, coming into this, I didn't have, I wasn't out there, blasting, we are winning this game. But, you're going up against a Leicester team that just got promoted. Yes, they won the title, but also this isn't the team that won the title. You have sold players off. You don't have the same manager. This team feels like during points of this game are woefully inadequate for the Premier League, at least at this moment. And yet we get only a point out of this one as the points are shared in Leicester at the King Power, as it was Jamie Vardy finding an equalizer in the 57th minute. We'll get there. But let's just start off right at the beginning. Tottenham out of the gates came out flying. We didn't see any of this. It felt like in, preseason games, and preseason games are exactly that. They're preseason. They don't matter. They're not going to tell you much, but they're still there as warm up to the season. Tottenham, like I said, came out flying. It just felt like those first 10 minutes were corner after corner after corner after corner. They got a few good opportunities in there with a few good shots. They were just, it feels like we still need a set piece coach for corners because it still doesn't look like we know what we're doing from them. We take some shots, but most of them are just targeted right at the keeper. I know, right around the 8th minute, it wasn't off a corner, but a Son cross into the box to Solanke. Solanke heads it. It's right to the keeper. If you want to get opportunities, you've got to test the keeper. And it just didn't seem like Tottenham were doing that, even though they very much controlled the first half. It felt like Leicester not even got a touch on the ball that first half. It was just Tottenham. And nothing, they couldn't put them away again. And that is something that was complained about last year. It's carrying over this year. You control a whole first half. It feels like you should be 4-0 up. And it's only in the 29th minute, just off a beautiful cross from James Maddison, who seems to regain his form, gets a header to Pedro Porro. Porro puts it into the back of the net, and it's 1-0 to Tottenham, even though it very much feels like it should be 3, maybe 4 at this point. We're only a half hour in. They very much controlled the half. It was very much a deserved goal, but you still can't look back, or you can still also look back and say, we need more goals here. What are we doing? We're not putting teams away. We get a goal and then just kind of languishes there. And I will say, after that goal, it didn't feel like the intensity was as much up as it was in those first 30 minutes. It felt like it kind of turned off. And although there was still some attack there, it felt like it wasn't the same as those first 30 minutes. I thought, it was an incredible goal by Porro. A beautiful cross from Maddison, who I think very unsung here. I think he is somewhat regaining the form that we did once see him at last year, in those beginning parts of the season before he got injured. In that Chelsea game back in November, that was just, feels like so long ago. But nonetheless, Tottenham still, it felt like, going into half, they still very much controlled this game. Uh, we'll take a look at those halftime stats very quickly here. Um, I mean, they were just so lopsided, and I don't get how from this we obviously get the 1-1 scoreline because they very much did turn off in the second half. Let's take a look at these stats. On possession for the first half, Tottenham had 73% possession. They had 10 total shots. Leicester had one total shot in the half, and that wasn't even on target. Half of Tottenham's shots ended up being on target, and only one of them ended up in the back of the net. I mean, it should have been at least 2, 3, possibly 4 in the back of the net at that point. But you just kept taking shots right at the keeper, and you're not going to win games like that. You're not going to win games. I mean, if you look at the expected goals, it was 0.06 for Leicester. It was 0.63 for Tottenham. Tottenham, they controlled the half. They very much controlled this half, and they barely had anything to show for it. They had 1 goal. So we're once again at this point where we're questioning why we're only 1-0 up. The managers changed. They changed. The players get some new players in, change. But things still say the same. Tottenham will go, 1-0 up. They'll immediately turn off at the immediate moment of any type of adversity whatsoever. It's over. It's over. That's all it is. This is a game Tottenham should have easily controlled a first game of the season and just, cruised away with victory. But yet here we are. We're talking about, a draw. And we get into the second half. Tottenham has a few opportunities, like in the 56th minute, I think, right around there. Bentancur takes a shot that just, it was aimed directly at the keeper once again. Then we get to the 57th minute. Christian Romero absolutely loses Vardy. Vardy's wide open to a cross. Easiest header that, he's going to have this season probably. He gets the equalizer. It's now 1-1 with, just a little over a half hour to go. And like I said, Tottenham turned off in the second half, especially after the goal. And just the adversity, they turn off at the single moment they get any. And it doesn't seem to change, no matter the manager. It's just something with these players. Once the adversity hits, it's just, flatline, basically. And, Leicester had, 2 or 3 opportunities in the second half to win this game. And Tottenham didn't even have that. Jamie Vardy had one in the 70th minute. He was basically on a breakaway. But, Vicario makes a diving save. I don't get how this team just completely turned off in the second half. And then we get to the 80th minute, or 79th, somewhere. It might have been the 70th. I don't know. It was another corners thrown into the box. Bentancur, I believe, gets hit in the head. He gets hit somewhere. He goes straight down, hits his head bad on the turf. And he was out cold. He was very much concussed. He didn't. I believe it was right around the 70th minute this happened. I don't think they stretchered him off the field until the 78th, somewhere around there. So I'm hopeful that the injury, obviously isn't long. Obviously, it's a concussion. I think that was pretty clear, but. Past that, I hope it's, quick recovery. Obviously, concussions, very difficult to recover from. But this came to a moment where, we got the 2 new youngsters in the midfield. You got Bergvall and Gray. This kind of felt like, hey, you're going to get 10-ish, maybe 20-ish, including stoppage time minutes here. show what you got, because one of you is most likely going to be starting next week because of this injury. And boy, to make something out of a bad situation, Bergvall, again, it's a terrible, terrible situation, but Bergvall comes in, and what a performance he puts on for, 10-ish minutes that he was on, 20, I think, 19, I don't know. With stoppage time, it gets all mangled, but what a performance he put on. It was a small sample size. Yes, he gave up a very big mistake in stoppage time that very much could have led to a winning goal for Leicester. And Vicario was right in his face about it. I know some people were getting angry about that. That's what happens here. That we're at a professional level. He's just holding account to these players. And, I guarantee Bergvall doesn't do it again. But what a performance he put on. But we get to full time, and it is a 1-1 scoreline. This feels like a loss for Tottenham. It truly does. In a game where they just controlled the first half so much, it just feels like we shouldn't be getting a draw out of this. And yet, here we are, only a point out of this, and it is hard to not think about what could have been if, you get a few extra goals here or there. So, again, I want to remind you of these stats once again, as we'll get into the full-time stats. You can see the discrepancy here. Let's move to the full-time. Look at the amount of difference that made between the halves. Leicester had, 6 more shots. Tottenham only had 5. They had the more shots on target. Leicester took over this game in the second half. And now I do have to give some credit to Steve Cooper. The adjustments he made at halftime seemed like it made it more difficult for Tottenham out there, which is why I think, the adversity, all that stuff, felt the pressure, and now here we are. So, total for this game, it was 71% possession for Tottenham. They had 15 total shots compared to Leicester's 7. 7 of those shots were on target. And again, only one of them end up in the back of the net, which is, that is quite annoying. We get down to expected goals. Tottenham were at 1.23. Leicester were at 1.02. Passes, Tottenham dominated all these types of stats, and they basically have nothing to show for it. They basically have nothing to show for it, and that is just, it's a terrible feeling, because you know that you should have walked away with 3 points, but you didn't. So, given that, now, as we always did last year and we will this year, let's move into the player ratings for this game. So we start up top with the new summer signing, that is Dominic Solanke. He earns in this match a 7.5. I didn't think it was an awful performance. I didn't think he got as many opportunities as needed. Now, yes, the shots that it felt like he had, they didn't really go anywhere. They went straight to the keeper, which, again, it's a little annoying, when that happens, because, you pay a big money, you break your club transfer record, and now you're here just taking shots right at the keeper. But, again, it's, first match day in the system, all that kind of stuff. I get it. We move on to this somewhat midfield, as it was a 4-2-3-1 today. I know at some points last year, this was basically what they played, but at some points you moved to a 4-3-3. It was a 4-2-3-1 today. Son on that left side earns a 7.2. Honestly, it wasn't a great performance today. And it feels like these, not great performances are starting to stack up a little. in addition, I'm counting last year's too. I know we're only in match week 1, but it's starting to feel like this starting to stack up, and it doesn't make me happy because, Son has been, such a great player for this team. And I don't think he was the main culprit of them being not great today. But he was at least a part of it. And I do hate saying that. Now, yes, he did have a few opportunities in this match, but they also weren't great opportunities. He was making plays, but not well enough, if that makes any sense. We move on to James Maddison, who, as I mentioned earlier, feels like he hit a somewhat resurgence in this game. It's what we saw from him last year. And, he got an assist on the Porro goal, a beautiful cross into the box. I just hope that this is the Maddison we see this year. I hope, not getting called up to the Euro squad is somewhat of a wake-up call for him, and we see, a better player come in this year. And obviously through one match, I think it worked a little, but I hope this is a consistency and he doesn't dip in form again, because if he does, I think we have some major problems. Now, Brandon Johnson, he got the start today. I was a little shocked by it. I kind of figured Kulusevski would get the start just because that's what we ran with the past, few years. Kulusevski instead starts on the bench. And I was like, okay, I'm surprised by this, but also hey, I'll give it a shot. I kind of feel like the score of 7.0 is a little high because, Brendan Johnson just felt like he was nowhere to be found today. I didn't think he looked outstanding. I thought he would look a lot better given that he was starting. He didn't. And that is kind of worrying. That's another player you spent big bucks on. I know it's going to be coming up on 12 months at the club. But, at some point it feels like we need to start seeing development. And I feel like we're not seeing that. Then we move on to Rodrigo Bentancur, who, of course, went down with that concussion earlier. Like I said, it was right around the 70th minute or something like that. Leading up to that, I didn't think he was having that outstanding of a game. He earns a 6.5. I think it could have been a much better game for him, and he just kind of didn't show it. He's still looking to recapture that form before, that ACL tear. And I don't know if that's going to come back. I truly, at this point, I really don't know if it will. Now, a little bit of a surprise for me was Pop Sarr. He got the start in the midfield like he has the past, year. He just didn't look comfortable out there today. So he earns a 6.6. I didn't think he looked comfortable in that position. It felt like he was struggling with his man, and I would 100% agree that's something that Johnson struggled with too. They just didn't look comfortable out there. They didn't want to go man on man, which worrying, very much worrying. And it, that's not something we need to be worrying about, at the Premier League level, yet here we are. So I'm hoping for more development from him in the second match, which, of course, we'll get to in a moment. But it was very much a struggle for, the two defensive midfielders, I would say, in this lineup of Bentancur and Sarr. Both of them not the brightest of days. Now, Destiny Udogie, I didn't think he had that great of a day either. I gave him a 6.7. It's his first game starting since, I want to say, April. For Tottenham, of course. Because he went out with injury at the end of the year, which nobody knew he was injured. And then here we are, and all of a sudden, he's just out with injury. It looks like he's trying to regain form. And I will say this about all the players. it looked like we were playing a preseason friendly out there today. It looked like they didn't, fully comprehend that, hey, these games count now. And that's just something we can't be doing in match week 1. It doesn't matter the opponent, whether it's Manchester City or if it's Leicester, if it's Newcastle or if it's Ipswich. You have to go in knowing that, hey, these count now. It didn't look like Tottenham knew that today, honestly. It looked like they were at another preseason friendly. The back two of Van de Ven and Romero both get a 7.4. I thought they both had decent days. I think they've had better days as, the back two for Tottenham. But, Romero, that was basically on him, that goal for Vardy. He completely just let Vardy free. Van de Ven, he had a few good chase downs. I thought, he's still a very, very good defender. I'm expecting another big year from him. And then we move on to our goal scorer, Pedro Porro. Earns an 8.3. He was your man of match. He went off in stoppage time with some sort of injury. He was hobbling around on the field for 6 or 7 minutes. So it's clear it wasn't something that could just be walked off, which makes me worried about his availability for Saturday because the Premier League, thought it's a good idea. Hey, we're going to give Tottenham Monday night, and then we're going to have him playing in the 3 o'clock window on Saturday. What are we doing? We're on 2 days less rest now, and Everton played on Saturday, so they're going to have a week's rest. It's just, annoying. It's annoying what it is. Vicario, goalkeeper, earns an 8.2. He made some crucial saves to keep this game at least level at 1-1 and make sure that Tottenham walked away with at least a point here. Now we get to our substitutions. As I mentioned, Gray and Bergvall both come on. They came on with Werner and Kulusevski. All of them came on in the 78th minute, I believe. Gray, it felt like he didn't get a ton of touches on the ball, so he couldn't really show much, I should say. He did show some things, just felt like it wasn't as much as everybody expected. Bergvall, on the other hand, I felt like he had plentiful chances to show what he's got, and he very much did show that. So I'm excited to see where both of them go. I think Bergvall has maybe a little bit more of a higher ceiling, but I'm hopeful for both of them that they're going to be two great midfielders for this club. Timo Werner, I still sit at the point of wondering why he's still here. I know it's loan, but I don't know. He earns a 5.8. It wasn't good. He seemingly just can't find the back of the net or any good shot, that is. I don't know why he's here. I know why he's here. It's because he's on loan and it's a cheap, forward with the amount of fixture congestion we're going to have. But boy, there had to have been another, forward we could have loaned out instead of Timo Werner. There just had to be. Dejan Kulusevski. He earns a 6.3. But I feel like it could have been a little bit higher because, he looked better in his, including stoppage time, 18, 19 minutes of play than Brendan Johnson did. 100%. I got this stat from Squawka. Only Bukayo Saka, who had 15, had more touches in the opposition box than Dejan Kulusevski, who had 11 in the opening PL weekend. Kulusevski was subbed on in the 79th minute. Bukayo Saka started the game. I don't get why. Why Johnson started ahead of him, I don't really get it. I feel like he should be a starter week in and week out. I think he is going to be a starter this weekend. I think he would have had a lot better chance than Johnson did of, beating his man in one-on-one. Yeah, I don't get why he didn't start this game. Again, my score is probably a little bit low, but I thought he had a great game of the game that he played. And Spence and Richarlison both got subbed down in stoppage time, so no scoring from them there. Postecoglou earned a 7. I think he waited like 10 minutes too long to make the subs. I think they could have been split up. I don't think we needed to bring 4 on at the same time. But nevertheless, here we are. Bringing on 4 at the same time. It felt like a little bit too much at the same time. But here we are. Here we are. So, as I mentioned, match week 1 is over. Match week 2, it's a short week because the Premier League thought that was a great idea. So, they are the 3 o'clock kickoff, 10 a.m. here in America on Saturday morning against Everton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the first time this year. It's going to be a very interesting atmosphere, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the starting lineup is because there already may be a decent amount of changes. So that is going to wrap this up for the first episode of Season 2 of Top the Perch. Thank you so much for watching. If you just stumbled across this video, click like, click subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. We'll be back next weekend to recap, this upcoming weekend, I guess. To recap it all of that Tottenham-Everton game. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you back again soon for another episode of Top of the Perch.